Good afternoon to you. Welcome into Pamela's Place. It's great to have you with us as always. Our guest for today, we are going to be talking about this month being National Thyroid Awareness Month. There are a lot of people and more being diagnosed daily with this problem. And did you know that more than 12% of the U.S. population will develop a thyroid condition during their lifetime? An estimated 20 million Americans have some form of thyroid disease. Up to 60% of those with thyroid disease are unaware that they even have the condition. Women are 5 to 8 times more likely than men to have thyroid problems. Undiagnosed thyroid disease may put patients at risk for certain serious conditions such as, but not limited to, cardiovascular diseases, osteoporosis, infertility, and many, many others. So our guest for today, we are going to be discussing this very topic along with the topic of weight loss and metabolism. This goes right along with these thyroid conditions. Justine Sanfilippo graduated from the University of Notre Dame with a bachelor's degree in business administration. Since college and since putting on 45 pounds while there, she found her passion in health, wellness, and nutrition. She attended the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York City in 2005 and is a certified health coach. She is also an ACE certified personal trainer, enjoys training others to help them reach their fitness goals. She's completed her master's in human nutrition with plans to also pursue her PhD, and she just loves teaching others about health, wellness, nutrition, and just a lot of other things concerning your health. Justine is a published author and was recently featured as one of 25 wellness experts in a book collaboration with Dr. John Spencer Ellis entitled The Wellness Book. So we are glad to have Justine with us today on Pamela's Place. Justine, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
It's great to have you here. Tell me a little bit. Now, I've shared a good bit about you, but you actually had your own thyroid problem diagnosis. Tell us about that.
Yes, well, about a year ago, I really couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I was tired all the time. I had just moved to LA, so I thought that maybe that had something to do with it. But I couldn't remember anything. I mean, I would walk into a room and forgot why I just walked in there, what I was about to do. Then I had insomnia, so I couldn't fall asleep at night. Even if I got 10 hours of sleep, I was just tired all day long. And I was holding on to, I had gained a few pounds, so I was holding on to about 10 pounds of weight that just wouldn't go away. And being that I've been a health person since 2005, I mean, I would eat right and exercise, so I knew that something was off, but I didn't know what. But ironically, I had to go to Seattle for a work trip, and I sat next to this lady on the plane, and I never talk to people on planes. I usually just sleep. But this was a very chatty lady, and I'm very happy that she was, because we ended up talking about hormones, and that's when I said, well, maybe it's something with my hormones. And I went to her doctor, I got tested for a few things, and that's when I discovered that I had a thyroid issue that I needed to fix. So I've been healing hypothyroidism, which is a low thyroid, and Hashimoto's, which is when you have antibodies attacking your thyroid, which can damage it, and obviously you don't want that. And I've really taken a holistic approach this past year to fix it, to figure out what is the overall sort of systemic underlying issues that are affecting my poor little thyroid. So it's been quite a journey, but I feel amazingly better. I have energy. I sleep. I actually lost weight.
Which is always a good thing. That's always good.
So it's been a journey, and I'd love to help people figure out if they may have a thyroid issue and different ways to go about healing themselves.
Right. And there are so many, there are so many people out here that have the weight gain and have various symptoms, and they don't realize what's going on. And I can only imagine, especially with you being such a fitness expert, and I mean, this is totally a shock to you, I'm sure, with the extra pounds.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what I knew. I mean, during my journey of losing weight from college and always taking sort of this holistic approach, I always used myself as a guinea pig. And I really listened to my intuition. So I knew something was off. But some other symptoms that people may not be aware of, besides like the brain fog, you can have low libido, you can have stiff joints and muscles, thinning hair, especially the outer one-third of the eyebrow, which you'll see a lot on women. If you have basically no hair there on your eyebrows, you could have a thyroid issue. Depression, infertility, dry skin. It's all these things all could indicate a thyroid issue.
Right. There's so many things that in other ways mimic other conditions. And the best thing to do, of course, if you're experiencing any of these symptoms or anything near these, go get checked out. And, of course, just a few months ago, they thought that I may have, something going on with the thyroid. They actually did the tests and everything, and mine, thank God, came back normal. But due to just some of the symptoms you described, the fatigue and various things, of course, my diagnosis was anemia. And but they did think something was going on with the thyroid, but all of that came back okay. But if you are experiencing things such as this, you do need to get those checked out. And some of the things that you described, Justine, I mean, these are things that a lot of people would never consider, being thyroid issues. Another thing is depression. That is another symptom, anxiety, depression. If you have a sudden developed anxiety that you usually don't have, this is very out of character for you, or depression, it could be a sign of thyroid disease. And I have seen, as a matter of fact, just a couple of years ago, had a dear friend that just suddenly started getting so depressed and was very unlike her. And other symptoms going on, come to find out, sad to say, she was diagnosed with thyroid cancer and actually had to have surgery. So a lot of times you can have the nodules and various things, but it is imperative if you are having symptoms or especially feel, a swollen place in the front or on the sides of your neck, your throat, you definitely need to have those things checked out.
Absolutely.
Another thing, just to go over some of the symptoms, I definitely want to get to some of the weight loss and the metabolism issues and various things with you, Justine, and things that you're doing. But just a few of the symptoms are things that the thyroid can cause problems with that we did not mention. A lot of women, and of course the women are at a higher risk of having thyroid problems, but menstrual problems. If you're used to having normal menstrual periods and these suddenly change drastically, then that is a common sign of a thyroid problem. Also, high cholesterol could be a sign. Now, that is something, Justine, I did not know until just a few days ago.
Yeah, it's amazing how such a tiny gland in the base of our neck can affect everything. And I'm glad you brought up the menstrual issues. Yes, if you're inconsistent month to month, if you get severe symptoms month to month, have miscarriages, any infertility issues, that could be a sign. And it could affect your cholesterol. It's really astounding.
It is, and a lot of the things that it can change. And of course, I think the symptom that most people are common and very well known is weight changes. The drastic weight change, whether it's loss or weight gain. That's what most people relate to the thyroid issues. But a lot of things I did not know as far as the change in hair, skin, and various things. I was unaware of that until a few days ago. So there's just a lot of things that this can cause. Like you said, such a small gland.
Such a small gland. And another symptom could be if you're cold all the time. If your hands and feet are constantly cold, you're constantly shivering, that could be a sign of a low thyroid as well.
So there's just a lot of things to look for. And there again, we're giving you symptoms and we're giving you our stories. But there again, if you're having symptoms such as this, definitely go get these checked out. Justine, from your personal experience, for those out here that may say, you know what, that sounds like me. What they're describing definitely sounds like me. What was the process? What were some of the tests that you went through? What could someone expect if they say, you know what, I need to go to the doctor, I need to get this checked out? What could you tell them to expect?
Yeah, so this was a learning experience in itself for me of what you actually need tested. So the standard test that all doctors do is something called a TSH. So they test your thyroid-stimulating hormone. Basically, the pituitary gland in the brain releases TSH when it detects there's insufficient thyroid hormone. So pretty much if you have a high number, it's sort of like the brain yelling at your thyroid to make more hormone. But if you don't have a healthy thyroid, it can't do its job anyway. So the standard test is TSH. Yes, get that done. However, not all doctors really feel that that's a sole indicator of the overall thyroid health. So some other tests I would highly recommend. I got something called thyroid antibodies, so it tests if there are antibodies attacking your thyroid. So you have to ask that specifically to the doctor. I want my antibodies tested. Another two things you can get tested are your free T3 and your free T4. So basically what happens is the body converts T4 to T3 for energy. So if you're low in energy, it's because usually your T3 is low. But you want to test the free T4 and T3 because that's what's floating in your body, and that's what the body is actually able to use. So TSH, antibodies, free T3, and free T4 are the first things that you should get tested with your doctor. And then after that, there's other tests that you can do once you've established what the issue may be, such as cortisol levels, adrenal function, vitamin deficiencies. I did a food allergy test, heavy metals. There's a whole host of other things that you could do later.
Right. That's vital information, key information, actually, that you just shared. Another thing, of course, Justine, family history. And that is with a lot of conditions.
Yes.
But if you have a family history of any type thyroid conditions, then you are at a greater risk, and you definitely want to get those checked out. Some of the other things, a lot of people may ask, well, exactly what is the thyroid gland? What is the function? What does it do? Well, it's a butterfly. Yes, I did say a butterfly-shaped gland in the front of your neck. It actually produces hormones that control the speed of your metabolism. So for those of us that sometimes get upset because we don't feel like our metabolism is going as fast as it should, that's the thyroid. That is, it actually controls the speed of your metabolism. And this is also the system that helps the body use energy. Disorders can slow down or rev up your metabolism by disrupting the production of thyroid hormones. So that's just a little inside information there. As we stated earlier, symptoms can be weight gain or loss. If you have an unexpected change in weight, that is one of the most common signs of a thyroid disorder. Weight gain may signal low levels of thyroid hormones, a condition called hypothyroidism. Now, in contrast, if the thyroid produces more hormones than the body needs, you may lose weight unexpectedly. That's not the case with most of us, but if you notice that, then this is known as hyperthyroidism. So there's a lot of different conditions here that you definitely have to get checked out for, depending on your symptoms. Changes in the heart rate, Justine, did you ever have that?
I did, where my heart would just speed up randomly, and I'd have an irregular heartbeat, and I could literally feel my heartbeat in my head practically, and then it would go back to normal. But that could be another indication, yes, that your thyroid is a little bit off. Right.
And, of course, there again, the thyroid hormones affect nearly every organ in your body, and they can influence how quickly the heart beats. So, of course, we mentioned changes in moods, energy, the hair loss, feeling too cold or hot. The symptoms are just astronomical. It's amazing how many symptoms. Now, if you have hypothyroidism. Now, Justine, this is what you actually had, correct?
Correct.
Some of the symptoms here, dry skin, brittle nails, numbness or tingling in the hands, the abnormal menstrual periods, as we mentioned earlier, constipation. Just the list goes on and on. Hyperthyroid symptoms would be muscle weakness or trembling hands, vision problems, diarrhea, and once again, irregular menstrual periods. So there's just a lot of things to look for here. And Justine, did they say anything to you about your, annual checks, what age these should start, or if you should have annual exams for this?
That was never really discussed, actually, by any of my doctors. I'm in my 30s now, and I think why this has come to be now is when I was in my 20s, before I knew anything about nutrition, and when I was trying to lose those 45 pounds, that's when I did all sorts of different crash diets, like diet pills, and I think that's when whatever I did affected my thyroid that showed up, 10 or 15 years later. So I think maybe if you know your history of, if you have done a lot of diets, or again, if it is in the family history, it may just be a good idea just to get tested anyway, just just like you did. You felt a little bit off and you got that tested, so your thyroid is good and you were able to establish another condition. So, but nothing was ever really discussed with me as far as something should be tested annually.
Well, one thing, when left untreated, hypothyroidism can actually raise cholesterol levels, and we mentioned that earlier, but they can make you more likely to have a stroke or a heart attack. In severe cases, very low levels of thyroid hormones can actually trigger loss of consciousness and life-threatening drop in body temperature. Untreated hyperthyroidism can actually cause serious heart problems and brittle bones. So these are just some of the serious effects that can come from this if it's undiagnosed and goes untreated. So that's just something that we definitely want to make you aware of, so that if you are experiencing certain symptoms that you think could be a thyroid disorder or problem, just to show you how imperative it is that you do get that checked out. Justine, let's get back to you for just a little bit. What did you always want to be a personal trainer? What actually got you started in personal training and, of course, just health conscious?
Well, I never intended to. So when I went to Notre Dame, I was studying information systems, which meant once upon a time I actually knew how to program a computer. But since I put on all that weight in college and suddenly just lost my self-esteem, and I didn't really know what to do with this new body where nothing fit, and I wore baggy clothes, and I would look down at the ground. So I think it was just through my own personal journey of trying various things. I really want to help people not do what I did, to be able to have a healthy waistline, to establish healthy habits, really to last the rest of their life and not do all the crash diets and things that I did. But it's really just a passion that sort of developed. So first I was able to heal myself and drop the weight and educate myself, and then I started to help others with health coaching, and then I got my master's in nutrition, and eventually I even owned a women's gym for a while, so that was a lot of fun just to really work with women closely and see what they usually deal with and help them. So it's been really a fun journey, but I absolutely love it. I mean, I wake up every day like so happy to help people.
And it makes such a difference when you enjoy what you do.
Absolutely.
It really does. Well, that is great. Metabolism, of course, this is something that we all, I think, struggle with. We want to boost our metabolism as much as possible. What are some things, what are some tips maybe that you would give us, especially as women out here, to where things we could do, maybe certain foods we should or should not eat, to actually help boost the metabolism, there again, to aid in weight loss?
Sure. Well, there's two things that I've found consistently with all of my clients work 100% of the time, and it's really simple. So tip number one is to eat breakfast. Now, I know we've all heard that we should, but sometimes people wake up and they're not that hungry, they're running out the door, and they sort of forget, and by the time it's 12 o'clock, they realize they're starving, and then they eat.
Always in a hurry.
Yeah, they eat in a hurry. But anytime I've had a client add breakfast that hadn't had it before, they always lose weight. Their waistline always comes down, and it's usually in about a week or two they really start to see results. And the reason is because if you look at how the body is sort of designed, so when we go to sleep at night, everything rests and slows down. Our body is recuperating from the day and getting ready for the next day. Our breathing slows down and our heart rate and all that. And when we wake up, our metabolism really isn't awake yet. So I like to compare the metabolism to a fireplace. So until you put logs on the fire in the form of food, you're sort of running on fumes and embers, and everything's still sort of sleeping. Even if you're running around and going to work, your body isn't fully awake yet. So the word breakfast means to break your fast.
I hadn't heard that one yet. That's pretty good.
I know. And so if you break the fast, and I usually say within about 1 hour of waking up, and just start with something small. I mean, it could be just like a banana or a handful of almonds, and then you could eat a normal breakfast when you get to work. But that really wakes up the metabolism, and it says, oh, well, I have to burn more calories all day long because I have more stuff to do. The person will find that they have more energy all day long. They won't be starving. A lot of times we get the late night munchies if a person did skip breakfast because the body's making up for, usually for sweets, it's making up for that missing out calories and energy. So that's tip number one. And then tip number two, again, super simple, works 100% of the time, is to eat smaller meals during the day. So I usually recommend a breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, and not to go more than 3 hours without having something. And I had one client literally lose 65 pounds in 3 months by doing that one tip.
Oh, wow. All right, I've got to ask you here, Justine, what are some of the things that you would say when you say eat maybe a light meal and then a snack, and then like breakfast snack, lunch snack, and so on? What are some of the foods, the actual foods you would recommend eating, especially in the snack area?
Sure. Well, I always start with what a person likes. You want to go with what you like. But it could be as simple as, any sort of nut is great. Walnuts, cashews, I usually go for raw, unsalted. You don't need all the extra sodium.
Right.
It could be some Greek yogurt, a string cheese, some hummus with vegetables. My best friend, she would just roll up turkey, like lunch meat turkey, the low-sodium turkey, around a bell pepper and dip it in some hummus, and that was her favorite snack. It could be... I've had people make their own protein bars. A lot of them aren't very good quality, just with some healthy peanut butter, some oats, a little bit of honey. So there's quite a variety, but you really want to start with something that you like, and then it could be an apple, just anything really. Your body has to keep digesting.
Now, you mentioned protein, and I've always heard, of course, how imperative it is to keep enough protein in your diet, even when you're trying to lose weight. So what would you say about that?
Protein's really important because our muscles are made of protein. So if a person's working out a lot and they're not eating enough protein, that's when you sort of get that skinny fat look, where you don't get that toned look, because your muscles actually can't grow. You're not getting enough protein.
So you're actually losing muscle mass.
Correct. So for a minimum protein requirement for an adult is usually about 65 grams a day, and you can have more. If you work out, I would definitely recommend more protein. And so just to give you an example of how much protein is in a food item, so like a chicken breast has about 20 grams. If you do like a turkey burger patty, it's about 20-25 grams. Any sort of 3 or 4 ounce serving of like fish or meat is about 20 to 25 grams. So if you have that 3 times a day, or you can have eggs. An egg is 6 grams. With egg whites is 4 grams. So you can make like a little egg white omelet and get a lot of protein that way. But not only does our muscles like it, but our brain really enjoys protein. It just helps us focus better. It keeps your blood sugar stable, so you're not craving sweets. If a person craves a lot of sweets, a lot of times it's just because they're not getting enough protein in the day. So they eat more protein and they crave less sweets. It's amazing.
And, of course, this works in a lot of areas because there's so many people, even speaking of another condition, being diagnosed with diabetes. And so these are things that can actually aid in that as well.
Absolutely.
Eating more frequently.
Yeah, eating more frequently helps the blood sugar stay stable at every 3 hours. And then when they do eat something, to have a protein with it, maybe like a healthy fat, so that everything metabolizes a little bit slower and the insulin levels aren't spiked.
Now, let me ask you this. What about, and I'm a huge, huge supporter of green tea. I absolutely love it and have found that it does work amazingly well for me for several things. But what would you say to that? I've always heard a lot of people say that because of the antioxidants, that is a great thing to drink when you're trying to lose weight.
Green tea in general is great just for the antioxidant effect. We all need a lot of antioxidants just because living in life, being around pollution and different sort of toxins, we need antioxidants to combat that. For weight loss, I think it could help because it helps detox the body a bit. But I would recommend with green tea, you can even find green tea extracts and green tea supplements where it's just the antioxidant part. But if you drink the tea, I would recommend to do a decaf versus the caffeinated, because too much caffeine can actually sort of increase the cortisol levels in our body, and cortisol equals belly fat. So also if a person drinks a lot of coffee, if they have a little ring around the middle, that could be because of all the extra caffeine and cortisol. So switching to decaf is always a really good idea.
Oh, no, that's good advice. That's something I didn't think about. And I'm sure a lot of people out there are saying, maybe that's why, I have this little excess spare tire around the middle.
Yes.
The extra caffeine. I did not know that.
Well, the reason is because, again, the body's really smart, and it survived for a really long time. So back when we had to hunt and gather our food, if we needed to run from a tiger, our cortisol levels would increase all the blood moves away from our stomach, which is our digestion, and moves into our hands and our feet and our brain. So our adrenaline's going, and we can run away from this tiger. So if we're constantly giving our body like artificial stimulants like caffeine, then the blood is still rushing away from the stomach area and causing us to be temporarily very awake and energetic, and then of course we crash and we want more. But that's why you can get the extra spare tire around the middle if you have a lot of caffeine.
Good advice. I'm going to remember that. Now, this is something I don't know about, but I have heard, and I definitely want to ask you about. I've heard that adding different spices to your meals, like for flavor and various things, can also help. There's a certain chemical or something in some of these that will actually help aid in boosting metabolism? Are you aware of this?
There are certain spices. I personally can't have a lot of spice. My body just doesn't really like it. But, yeah, like putting in a little cayenne pepper, like you could do a little cayenne pepper and some lemon, like hot lemon water. Hot lemon water in general just helps you detox, and then the cayenne will boost the metabolism a little bit just because it increases your body temperature. I mean, you may sweat, but just like sweating at the gym will help detox and help with weight loss as well. So, you know, if you don't like spice, it's okay. So just go sweat in the gym.
And you mentioned, of course, lemon water. Now, something else that I've heard that I want to ask you about. I heard someone say that if you drink warm lemon water, maybe 15 minutes after you get up, and wait a few moments and then eat your breakfast, that can also help aid in boosting the metabolism?
Yes, well, so hot lemon water, and it sounds like it would taste like nothing, but it's actually really delicious and satisfying. This is something I've been incorporating a lot more lately. But when you have it, especially on an empty stomach, it really helps your liver detox. And your liver does a lot for us. I mean, pretty much everything that we eat and drink is processed through the liver at some point, or any medication.
Well, it filters, yeah.
Yeah, it's a filtration system. So, yeah, so giving it that extra aid in the morning to filter even more and detox a bit really helps set up the rest of the day.
Good info. I tell you what, Justine, we're going to go to a quick break, and then we're going to come back. I definitely want to discuss more on the metabolism, weight loss issues, and, of course, you as a personal trainer, some tips and various things you give the people. Also want to talk more, of course, about Thyroid Awareness Month for the month of January, and we'll be covering more on that issue as well, so you don't want to miss it. Stay with us for the rest of Pamela's Place this last half hour. We'll be back in a moment right after this.
It's a new year. 2015 is the year you'll finally stop smoking. You're determined, dedicated, devoted. But here's the thing. The stress, temptation, and addiction from 2014 followed you into 2015. Fact is, quitting takes more than a calendar change. So this year, give yourself a real shot. Trade in your cancer-causing cigs for a healthier, friendlier vape kit from Mount Cheehaw Eco Smokes in Oxford. Our team at Cheehaw Vapes is here to help you formulate a plan to quit. And with our help, you'll make it. Mount Cheehaw Eco Smokes. We're on Highway 78 East in Oxford next to Express Oil Change. You can call us at 256-473-VAPE or find us online at cheehawvapes.com or search Cheehaw Vapes on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for weekly specials.
Respect and care for our seniors should be a prime concern for all of us. It shouldn't matter what season it is. Keep an eye open for our seniors and check on them on a regular basis. Help with chores. Visit a hospital or a nursing home. Let them know someone really and truly cares. That's from Signature In-Home Care in Oxford at 1707 Hilliard Robinson Parkway. They have highly qualified and trained caregivers for a variety of daily activities, such as caring companionship, meal planning and preparation, running errands, and light housekeeping. Call them today, 256-831-3250, or visit signaturein/homecare.com. The #1 in-home care service.
Alabama confirms that Lane Kiffin is sticking around. And Coach K gets his 1,000th win. This is Andrew McLean with your Personal Foul Sports Update, brought to you by Mount Cheaha Eco Smokes. The Crimson Tide announced Saturday that Lane Kiffin will return to Alabama next season and remain the team's offensive coordinator. Kiffin had been a front-runner for the San Francisco 49ers offensive coordinator job, according to ESPN. Under Kiffin, first-year starting quarterback Blake Sims completed 64.5% of his passes for 3,487 yards and 28 touchdowns this past season. Wide receiver Amari Cooper became a Heisman Trophy finalist, catching 124 passes for 1,727 yards and 16 scores. As a team, the Crimson Tide were 16th in points per game with 36.9. And Mike Krzyzewski earned his 1,000th career win Sunday, making him the first NCAA Division I men's coach to reach the milestone, with number 5 Duke surged past St. John's in the second half for a 77-68 victory at Madison Square Garden. The 67-year-old Krzyzewski improved to 1,308 in a 40-year coaching career that began in 1975 at his alma mater, Army. He is 927 and 249 in 35 seasons at Duke, guiding the Blue Devils to 4 NCAA titles and 11 trips to the Final Four. And last night in the annual NFL Pro Bowl, Team Irvin defeats Team Carter 32-28. Put down those cigarettes and go check out Mount Cheaha Eco Smokes, 1982 U.S. Highway 78 East in Oxford. You can call them 256-473-8273 or visit them online at cheahavapes.com. This is Andrew McLean with your Personal Foul Sports Update.
From your WDNG Weather Center for today, we're looking at cloudy skies with a high of 45 degrees for tonight. Partly cloudy skies moving in with a low of 32. Currently, beautiful Broadcasting Central right here on Layton Avenue. It is 39 degrees. And welcome back to Pamela's Place. It is 1:41 on the clock. Great as always to have you with us. Our topic for today, of course, January is National Thyroid Awareness Month. And we are discussing these issues along with boosting your metabolism, weight loss, and various other things that, of course, go hand in hand with thyroid conditions. If you're just joining us, more than 12% of the U.S. population will develop a thyroid condition during their lifetime. An estimated 20 million Americans have some form of thyroid disease. Up to 60% of those with thyroid disease are unaware of their condition. Women are 5 to 8 times more likely than men to have thyroid problems. Undiagnosed thyroid disease may put patients at risk for certain serious conditions such as, but not limited to, cardiovascular diseases, osteoporosis, and infertility. So these are just some of the things we've been discussing. For those that may just be joining us, well, let me tell you a little bit about our guest. Miss Justine Sanfilippo graduated from the University of Notre Dame with a bachelor's degree in business administration. Following college, she found her passion in health, wellness, and nutrition. Enrolling in the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in 2005, she became a certified health coach. And, of course, she has a website I want to lead everyone to, and that is www.happyhealthypeople.com. And, of course, Justine, as I said earlier, great to have you with us on Pamela's Place. Welcome back.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Here we are into a brand new year. And, of course, a lot of people still make those New Year's resolutions. And I think the main one being we're going to lose weight. How many of us have said that over the years? Our New Year's resolution is we're going to eat less, exercise more, take better care of ourselves, and of course, health-wise and other things, and of course, the main thing, lose weight. But how many of us really, really kick in and go with that after the first month? A lot of times you get discouraged, and because maybe you don't see the results. Maybe you set your goals too high for the first part of that year. And Justine, I think it's important for when we set weight loss goals, or any goals for that matter, I think it's important to set certain guidelines and don't start so huge that we cannot reach certain goals in a certain amount of time. What would you say to that?
I completely agree, and my favorite show is The Biggest Loser. I absolutely love it.
Oh, I love
However,
that too.
those sort of results in that period of time are not normal for anybody else. So I think it's important to set realistic expectations. We're not going to lose 20 pounds in a day. Whatever weight you've put on that you'd like to get rid of, it took a while to come on, so it'll take a little bit to come off. And healthy weight loss is really just 1 to 2 pounds per week. Granted, in the first week, there might be a little bit more because usually people lose some extra water weight. But if you really keep that in mind and say, okay, if I want to lose 20 pounds and I'll give myself 10 weeks to do it, then it makes more sense. And then that way it stays off the long run. So you don't have to keep looking for this quick fix that never really exists.
Well, I started to say, too, because so many times when you do lose it, if you don't go about it the right way, then you end up gaining the weight back and then some. And
it always comes back. That's one of the trials I learned when I was trying to lose the 45 pounds I gained in college, is one summer I did lose a lot of weight very quickly, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was eating too little, exercising too much, lost a lot of muscle, basically really hurt my metabolism. And then I went back to college, and all this weight came on plus more. I think I put on twice what I had lost.
Oh, wow.
Because my body was basically in starvation mode, and it was so happy to have food again that it stored every single thing I gave it as fat.
Right,
so,
right.
Yes, if a person loses too quickly, it could definitely come back on.
And it's so discouraging. You get so excited because you lose a certain amount of weight. And then a couple of months down the road, you think, oh, my goodness, I've gained back more than what I lost. And it's very disheartening. So it is imperative that, for those that are really wanting to lose, whether it's just a little weight or you have quite a lot to lose, it's important that you seek help from a health trainer, a nutritionist, someone that can really help guide you. Justine, of course, we've all heard how important water is to, of course, health, losing weight, dieting, the whole thing. But what would you say to the water issue? How much water should the average person, even for health reasons, but especially for losing weight, how much water should we drink per day?
So the standard recommendation is 8 cups or 64 ounces a day. So I'm looking at my large water bottle I have here, and it has about 20 ounces in it. So that's basically 3 larger water bottles per day. Now, a lot of people they either don't like water, they forget to drink it, but it's really important because our bodies were actually made of about 60 to 70% water. So each cell, and we have billions of cells, each cell needs water to function properly. So if we give it the hydration it needs, then it could do its job, and then that's how it helps with weight loss, actually.
Right.
So,
and of course, adding the lemon.
Brain needs water. Everything needs water.
Well, adding the lemon, of course, as we were discussing earlier before the break, that helps a lot too. And for those that say, well, I don't like water, well, add the lemon to it. It really makes a difference.
Yeah, lemon. You could even try lime, even a little orange if you just want a little bit of flavor, like an orange wedge. Something to make it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, we need water. I think the brain is made of about 85% water. So if you're just constantly forgetting things, try drinking water and see if that helps too.
Well, what are some tips? Do you think it's important, and this is something that, I personally think is important for me to do, whether it be, personal things, business-wise or whatever, for those that are wanting to lose weight, don't you think it's imperative that you write down your goals, maybe why it's important to you, what those goals really are? I mean, really true expectations that you feel you can meet, and maybe do it just for a month at a time? What would you say to that?
Absolutely. So I just wrote a book called Lose Your Inches Without Losing Your Mind. The one thing I help people do in the book, and this is just how I work with my clients, is setting goals, especially setting baby goals. So you can write down your overall goal. I want to lose, 4 dress sizes and by next fall I'm going to a wedding, or whatever it is. Or I just want to be healthier for my kids and have more energy. It's important to know your overall motivation, and then to really break it down into baby steps, and that's how it's not so overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So I help people establish 1, 2, or maybe even 3 baby goals per week, and that's all they focus on. So an example baby goal could be, I'm going to drink 1 more glass of water per day, or I'm going to have a healthy snack at 3 o'clock versus a candy bar, something that makes sense for them. And then it's not so overwhelming, and the healthy habits happen, and then the waistline shrinks down relatively easily, actually.
One thing that I think we could all say, and this is something that we say quite a lot on one of the shows that we do here in the afternoons, that we're all creatures of habit. Mm-hmm. And some of those habits are pretty tough to break. But there again, just as you mentioned earlier, the weight did not come on us overnight. And so it's not going to go off overnight. And that's something that we need to, it takes a while to really break some of those habits that we're so used to.
Yes, there was a doctor, I think back in the 60s, Dr. Maltz, I believe. So he's the one that figured out it takes 3 weeks to make a habit. So if a person can stick to anything, whether it be setting their baby goals, bringing their lunch to work, making it healthier dinners, if they could stick to something for 3 weeks, then typically that habit, even if a person's trying to quit smoking, if they get past that 3-week mark, usually the habit stays and new healthy habits have developed. But yes, we are creatures of habit. We all get into our routines, so it's making those small baby changes to change things up a little bit.
Don't you think it's also important to reward yourself along the way? I mean, if you reach one of those little baby steps, just what are some of the rewards that you would suggest that some of us give ourselves?
I love to do rewards with clients, and I always encourage them to do non-food rewards. So usually I'll have a client work on, they choose their baby goals for the week, and I say, okay, so if you hit all your baby goals, what do you want your reward to be? And it'll be maybe a manicure, a massage. They want to go shopping for a new pair of, gym pants, even just going to meet with friends they haven't seen in a while, or family members. Just something fun, something that I had one lady just wanted to buy a book and just sit and read and just take some time for herself. So something that you've been either putting off or you've just been wanting to do, and it's sort of on your list to do, but it makes you really, really happy. Go to a concert, go to a play, go to the movies, just something non-food related.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I mean, and that helps motivate.
Yes.
Keeping yourself accountable. I think that's true and, of course, very important in anything that we do. But we mentioned, of course, writing down our goals for ourselves. But how important do you think it is to keep ourselves accountable to someone else? Maybe whether it be a trainer, a best friend, whatever, letting them know what our goals and our visions are so that they can kind of help encourage, motivate, and keep us accountable.
I think that it's crucial. I mean, I even have accountability partners for different things I'm doing in my life. It has to be somebody. Sometimes family members aren't always the best choice because they're going to love you no matter what, even if you stop pursuing whatever your goals were. So usually someone who's a little bit more objective, like a trainer, a nutritionist, a health coach. There's even different apps now that exist where you can have something or a program. Like I love to, if a person's going to track calories, they can use something called MyFitnessPal. It's a free app, which I love. So even something like that, they can actually look at what they ate. So that is a form of accountability. But I think that it's important because not only do you get advice and encouragement along the way, but when you do hit those obstacles or those plateaus, you can reach out to somebody for help, and they can help you work through it and understand that that's not the roadblock. It's just a learning lesson, and then how do you move forward from there? So accountability is really important.
I totally agree. And, of course, as we mentioned earlier, the crash dieting. This is something that I definitely want to get the point across to because so many times we see, especially the younger people, younger teenagers and younger women that want to do the crash dieting, consuming less than 1,000 or 1,200 calories a day. And that's just not the route to go. So, once again...
it really affects, trust me, it affects your metabolism later. Shows up 5, 10, 15 years later.
Yeah.
But when you do that, I mean, you compromise the body systems. You eat away the muscle. You can, for women, like, they can stop their menstrual cycles for several months if they eat too little. The body needs a minimum amount of calories just for the heart to beat and for your lungs to work. So there's something called a basal metabolic rate that can be calculated. People can just Google that, and they could see, based on their height, weight, and age, how many calories does their body need to burn every day if they just laid in bed all day and never move. And oftentimes that number is a lot higher than they think. So it's definitely above that 1,000 or 1,200 mark. So you have to eat at least that, plus then you're moving around during the day, so you'll burn more calories. But that's just a really great way to know, I mean, that you can eat food. Like, food is not the enemy. We need food to live, and really not compromise your body systems later.
Right. What about exercise routines? I mean, you know, all of us, I know, need to maintain some form of exercise regimen, you know, something to keep us going. What would you recommend, you know, as far as keeping up with exercise routines? I mean, I think that's crucial, especially to maintain all of us women out here. You know, you want to maintain your waistline.
Yeah.
And so that goes along, you know, with watching what you eat.
Yes, exercise and nutrition go hand in hand. But a lot of people put exercise off, or they just don't do it because they get too busy in life, which I completely understand.
Oh, I totally understand.
Moms at work with 3 kids and a husband and cook, and, you know, it's a lot of stuff. So I always say to start small and start with something that you like. So if you don't like running, don't go running. Don't think that you're going to start running every single morning, okay? If you're not a morning person, don't think you're going to start getting up every morning to exercise. So where in your day can you fit in a little bit more exercise? Is it at lunch? Can you, instead of your lunch break, can you walk around wherever your building is? Is it right after work? Can you go home and tell everyone to leave you alone and you go on the treadmill for a half hour? Do you like to do, there's fun, again, apps now for exercises that you can just do right in the comfort of your home. There's different DVDs. I personally love classes. I love to go to the gym and have someone sort of tell me what to do for an hour so I don't have to think whatsoever.
Kids never get this
excited. Yeah, I feel like I'm getting more accomplished if I do that. I've got somebody that really, I'm like, you know, they know what they're doing, so I'm getting more done here. But, you know, we interviewed just a few months back. There is a company, Trek Desk. I don't know if you've heard of this or not.
Yes, I have seen that.
We actually interviewed them, and I thought that was such a cool idea for, you know, the workplace, for those that maybe have the desk jobs and various things that enable them, you know, to actually get a little more exercise. But let's get back to the food real quick. Keeping healthy portions. Now, I think that's something very imperative, of course, to cover with people. You know, we all love buffets. And, you know, especially down south here in Alabama, people love the buffets. But healthy portions are very important. So what advice would you give to all of these Southerners down here that love to go to these buffets? What would you say to them on healthy portions?
Well, buffets, try to make it more of a here and every so often thing versus a regular thing, because it's really easy to eat way too much at a buffet. But a healthy portion, somehow in the United States, our portions have gotten ginormous compared to everywhere else in the world. So, for example, a portion of, like, steak or turkey or chicken is about 3 to 4 ounces, which is about the size of the palm of your hand or a deck of cards. So if you go get a steak at a restaurant, it's usually at least twice that.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're out to dinner, even at the buffet, I mean, you can get a normal portion of what you like and then take home some leftovers. A portion of, say, mashed potatoes, which is a cup, or a cup of rice is about the size of a closed fist of your hand. So if you usually get mashed potatoes, it's usually about 3 times that.
Absolutely. And that, you know, that's tough to do sometimes, especially when you go to the all-you-can-eat buffets around here.
Yeah.
And people have a tough time with that. But you know what? That's where willpower kicks in. You know, you tell yourself you can do this, and you can. We are just about out of time. We've got about 2.5 minutes left. Lose your inches without losing your mind. I love the title of this book. Tell me how this came about. Tell us about the book, and of course other books that you've written. Now, have you written the children's books yet, or is that forthcoming?
Those are in process. I'm writing those right now.
That will be great because, there again, we did not get to cover this, but childhood obesity is so on the rise. And I think that's great that you're actually coming out with a book, concerning the kids. But definitely go over your books. Give us where we can purchase those, your website information, social media, and everything in between.
Absolutely. So it's called Lose Your Inches Without Losing Your Mind. It's on my website, happyhealthypeople.com. Also Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. And I actually have an ebook special going on just for January, which is 99 cents. But it came about because during my journey of losing weight, I drove myself crazy. I've done all the crash diets. I've done all the supplements. I've done where I felt like I couldn't go to social events because I was constantly thinking about food or how I looked, and no self-esteem. So it's designed to help people figure out what works for them. It is not a diet. A person only has to read one chapter per week to make it even easier. And then I guide the reader as their health coach to select their 1 to 3 baby goals for that week. And then that's all they work on. We focus on inches and we don't weigh ourselves because the scale drives us crazy as well.
No, I like that perspective.
Yes. So no scale whatsoever. It's about how your pants fit and what your measurements are doing because that's really more shows the shape of the body.
That's what counts.
10 weeks. That's it.
Absolutely. All right. Now, social media. You do Facebook, Twitter.
Kids
on social media, I'm under Happy Healthy People. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I have a bunch of fun 1-minute wellness videos. So you can find me anywhere, and I always offer all sorts of free tips and advice.
Good deal. Sounds like a lot of fun, so I'll have to go and watch those videos. Justine, thanks so much for being with us. It's been fun, and a lot of other things that I would love to have covered. But you know what? We'll have you back in the future, and we'll cover the things we didn't get to. Looking forward to the children's books that are coming out. When those happen, we'll have to definitely get you back on. And